1987 Acura Integra LX 5-door hatch 5MT. All the modern high-revving Hondas we enjoy begin here with the first generation Integra. It's true. Gearheads gush, trade spit, go on glory hole wine tours over the 1993 to 1997 Integras, the third gens. But with this car, we are 10 years prior, when the Integra was billed as a sports sedan or luxury, or like a glazing of luxury over this car that we weren't exactly sure how this was going to be marketed. You don't get the Honda S2000 without the OG Integra. OG Integras are hard to find, but you can find one S2000, the one we're giving away. Click on the link in the description. Go to go.getentertowin.com/regularcars. Buy a mug, digital download. Someone's going to win this S2000. The result of all Honda's hard work, all the pipe they laid with the Integra, comes to a head with the S2000. It's the essence of a roadster distilled into its purest form. Click on the link in the description. Go to go.getentertowin.com/regularcars. Buy a mug, digital download. Each one is a chance to win this S2000, and you can have it for yourself. Thank you for supporting Regular Car Reviews, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to keep this show going. All Honda boys owe their culture, their identity, their friend groups, everything that makes import culture fun starts right here with a brown on brown sedan from the 80s.
All right, here we go, hill climb. Smooth as butter. This is faster than most modern economy cars. I'm only in 4th gear, we're still this is great.
What's crazy is just like the way it's geared.
Yeah. I think that's Nick right there.
You went for the fucking...
Yeah, I went for the center. There was nothing. There's nothing there.
Yeah, it's just... Bless you.
It's so amazing how on top of the game Honda was in the 80s. I mean, Honda and Toyota too. That this thing is as smooth and as powerful and as fast as something an economy car made in 2020.
And it's got 4-wheel disc brakes, so the brakes do actually, work. And
you just got to get around that, if you're at the gym like I am, like you get big thighs, you're going to have to drive it like this.
there might be some other adjustment that maybe
maybe the seat, I can lower the seat a little bit. Like I'm sitting on top of the car a little bit. Like I can feel it moving underneath me, but that's probably because it's so light.
Yeah, it's only 2,500 pounds.
Yeah.
Which, for a 4-door, I'm sure the 2-door is probably less.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because you're driving it the exact same way that my dad did it, like when I was growing up. And it got to the point where I remember being like 5 years old and asking like other moms, like when they would drive me, why are you driving so slow?
Yeah.
I thought it was normal to do 80 in the 35.
Yeah. Set up for corners like that. Oh, this thing's fun. All right, how much do you want?
In the 1980s, Honda had the prestige of Hyundai in the 2000s. It's some foreign car from a country that... Weren't we at war with them or something? Ah, well, who cares? Old men, when they saw Hondas in the 80s, were like, well, you get what you pay for. Eddie at Hilltop Garage will work on my Chevy Caprice until the end of time, which is how long I'll live. See this bracelet? It's got a magnet in it and a hologram. I'm gonna outlive my kids, and my house will never stop appreciating. Foreign cars, patooey, that's what I say. And another thing, I was doing my own research last night, and where are you going? Typical pronoun generation, you don't listen. Honda created the Acura brand, in part, to make Americans happy. Or, honestly, trick Americans into thinking they're getting a superior product all around when all Americans were really getting is sheared with the blade guard off. Toyota would pull the same move with Lexus. Not that Honda didn't bring their A game with the US Integra. This has the criminally covered 1.6-liter D16 A1 double overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder, 7,000 RPM redline, brown top. It makes 133 horsepower. Now, I've heard two conflicting things online. One, the brown top makes 133 horsepower, and two, the brown top makes 113 horsepower. Right? So which one's right? I'm leaning toward 133 because, okay, I own an MR2, a first gen. That had a 1.6. The Toyota version, the 4AGE in the United States, that thing made like 112 horsepower. The Integra is heavier than an MR2, but it feels faster. So I'm guessing this is making 133. And shifting it and rev matching it, this is as intuitive as any modern Honda. The brown top was replaced by the black top D16, which got electric spark advance over vacuum, lighter connecting rods, and higher compression pistons for a gain of 5 horsepower. But the brown top can run on 87 octane with no fear of knocking. And in the 1980s, the brown top was so desirable, thieves would steal 5-door Integras to pull the brown tops to put in their CRXs.
I think this car only weighs like 2,500 pounds.
Yeah, we need first. Look at that. I'm even unfamiliar with the car and double clutching down. You just figure it out. Third, now go back. This is a 4-door family hatch. And I know from the perspective of the camera that I'm not mobbing it in these things, but these roads honestly are pretty tight. The throttle response is perfect. There's no waiting, there's no slush.
It's like a go-kart.
I know everybody wants stuff from the 90s, but the stuff from the 80s is just as good.
I still can't get over that. It's weird how double clutching in a Honda from 1987 is exactly the same as one from 2002. Pause the gear shifter in the neutral position, stab the throttle all the way to the carpet. The revs will shoot up about 200 RPM higher than where they need to be for the next lower gear. But by the time you move the gear shifter from neutral into the next lower gear, your RPMs will have dropped to where they need to be to just slide right in. Gravy. And handling is telepathic with independent suspension all around, 4-wheel discs all around. You can drive this thing at 8/10, having never driven a first-gen Integra before. Of course, the Integra is one of those cars that almost no one can talk about without bringing up the Honda Civic, and usually in a negative way, saying something along the lines of how the Integra is just a Honda Civic wearing a pair of Adidas. But this approach completely ignores all the pipe the Integra had to lay just to birth Honda bro culture in the first place. Because as I said before, this little brown 5-door is the reason you're here. Everybody watching this video who owns Hondas, who loves it, it begins here. More than the motorcycles that Honda got really good at making, more than the roadsters they gave up in the 70s and rebirthed in 1999, this is where it all begins, for better or worse, with a little brown hatch that's smoother than a decorative samurai sword. This is where the fun begins. With Honda's vroom vroom, watch me gap you like an AVN award winner when I boost to 48 PSI on the Ben Franklin Highway. I'm gonna blow my pistons just to make myself better than you. The Integra is like beating into a freshly opened dress sock while the William Tell Overture roars over the holiday fireworks show. Integras debuted in the March of 1986 and remained in production until 2006 before Honda put them out to pasture. And it stayed in the grave for 15 years before being revived in 2021 like Dexter. But out of the 228,000 first-gen models sold, most were in the United States. And you see this now with people buying the modern Integras on the strength of the name that came before, even as it has no substantial connection beyond that name. The modern Integra is no more a classic Integra than the Mach-E is a Fox body. This Integra came before Integra got cool in the 90s. But it's also before the Integra got lame in the modern era. The Integra scene is a whole lot of clutch dumping, donut swirling, hotbox hooning for guys who grew up on fast food. Mom would cook a whole-ass dinner just for it to sit there losing heat quicker than a white-collar crook who still has his passport. And then Mom compromised, saying you only need to eat half. And now she can go to bed relieved that you at least got some nutrition in you, even if the other half goes into a Tupperware in the back of the fridge. The new Integra is like a spirit Halloween being erected in the hollowed-out jack-o'-lantern corpse of Bed Bath & Beyond. It isn't the thief bait that any of its forebearers were. It's basically a Honda Civic for a guy who hits a few quick push-ups before his date shows up. It has none of the vitality or character that an 80s hatch will get you, although I suspect someone will be bringing us a modern Integra soon. And for Ted, this Integra was a sentimental find. This is a carbon copy of his dad's old car, the entire reason he's even into cars. Ted found this in Colorado, and from its vehicle history report, it seemed it's lived out west for the majority of its life, escaping the rust that claims so many others here on the East Coast. Rust is what took out his father's Integra, and so Ted swore if he ever found one like it again, he'd buy it. And 6 months ago, that's precisely what he did. Now, I bring this all up to make a broader point about the role that sentimentality plays in keeping these cars on the road, in situations where they would otherwise fade into obscurity or disrepair. Because for all its performance, and for all the style that would inevitably become frozen in amber with the other 80s style trends like roll necks and bodysuits and pop-up headlights, this Integra was not meant to survive. Allow me to say that again. This was not meant to survive. Honda did not build the Gen 1 Integras to last. They are thin, subframes rot out. They were made as a shoehorn to get into the American market. This is a car that feels like a proof of concept for better versions in the future. And if you look at prices in the used market, of course, third gens rule. Honda made this as more of a sporty Civic alternative that was meant to be a successor to the Honda Quint. But this earned a higher price tag than the Civic, despite the similarities. Of course, you get more. You get air conditioning, you get a manual equalizer down there, you get power windows, and you get a tape player with Dolby Digital noise reduction. And four-wheel disc brakes, I keep bringing that up. Oh, and then they also gave you a better OEM tire package, but I forget what it was. Passion for cars like this is entirely predicated upon that attitude being passed down to subsequent generations. Because as these cars become less likely to ever be encountered, it also becomes less likely for fondness toward these cars to grow organically. There will still be fans thanks to the internet, but that type of fandom doesn't come from any sort of reference point beyond what the internet gives the person. After all, the internet loves Gen 3 Integras, not Gen 1s. This Integra represents Honda rising to the height of its powers, while simultaneously depicting a company that had no idea just how good they really were. They developed a car that rejects the poison placebo of cosmetic appeal and mechanical flamboyance. The Integra debuted with a grounded approach to winning you over, and in doing so, created something far more timeless than a car that's pimped out with features and driver assists. I don't mean to turn this into a "modern cars bad" kind of rant. There's a lot to like about the future we're living in, and there are still great cars being made. And the Integra itself is back. But the feeling of care in the development process is beginning to feel more and more rare. We didn't set out for this to become an 80s circle jerk, but if the condom fits, then you might as well bust in it and save a pair of socks.
Everything that we love about the S2000 started in the 80s. Honda learned how to make this by making this. The unassuming double cam D series that exists in the Integra. I should have known where to find the thing. There we get there. The D series that exists in these. About 130 horsepower in the 80s. 7,000 RPM redline, butter smooth the entire way. Tuning options, swappable. This is the K20 before the K20. Still has a distributor hanging off. What is that, the intake cam? Yep, the intake cam. And dead reliable. I mean, this car is still running normally today, this classic car. And all the stuff they learned about keeping things simple came to a head in one beautiful flash, a beautiful 10-year flash of the K20 and the S2000. 9,000 RPM redline, and then since this is an AP1, the first iteration of it is the true 9,000 RPM engine. Come to think of it, it looks a little bit cleaner in here than, yeah, it's the 80s. Vacuum hoses, vacuum hoses, vacuum hoses. And now here we are in 2002. Yeah, there's less stuff going on. I mean, you have this complex anti-lock braking system here. You have this very strange, look at this thing right here. This is some old 80s stuff right there. This is your cruise control. A little stepper motor that pulls on your throttle. This car has cruise control. Where is it? Okay, they're using a similar thing. Is that a dash pot? No. It's a vacuum tube running to some kind of dash pot there. Oopa doopa 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 doopa.
I think it's on the firewall.
You think it is your cruise control way down there? I'm looking for something that yanks. That's it? Yeah, that is a little electric motor. Huh. Around it goes, down it. No. That has to do with your
Oh wait,
ignition.
no, that's your ignition. Hang on.
That's not.
No, it's right here. Duh.
Oh, that's it. With a vacuum. Oh yeah, that looks like a vacuum chamber to me. So wait a minute. That's the coil? It has to be, because that's going right to the center of your distributor. That's it? That's all the coil it is? That's all the spark you need? Well, okay, it's an 87 octane engine. GoPro, stop capture. Well, it's locked. I have to beep you in.
Okay.
It'll be just a second. And before I forget, click on the link in the description. Go to go.getentertowin.com/regularcars. Someone's winning this AP1 S2000 with the K20 that everybody loves. The giveaway for this ends next Wednesday. Click on the link in the description. Go.getentertowin.com/regularcars. Buy a mug digital download. And just like the Acuras over there that you don't see anymore, These are going to join the ranks of their grandfather of a car that you just don't see on the roads. They're in collections. They're mothballed. You see those at Cars and Coffee. You see these at, you see those at Radwood. You see these at Cars and Coffee. I swear, S2000s now have, such a light hood. S2000s now, there. S2000s now have look but don't touch on them. Touch, 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 touch. Let's go driving again. GoPro, stop capture.